look, at that point, I took some steps to survive, and I started looking online for opportunities. The pandemic's accelerated a lot of opportunity. You have an annual focus and then a quarterly, and then what are the steps each week? What's one thing you do each week? What can you do to sort of stay above your competitors? And then that's usually better for business, for driving new leads into my business, So, I mean, look, for me, I just like to look at my bigger picture goals for the year. It's just exciting. It feels good. And that's the way I like doing business, with people that I like.
I'm co-host James Ash.
And I'm co-host Phil Scaife.
Welcome to the Business Lockdown. Welcome to today's episode. Greg Merrilees, all the way from sunny Melbourne, Australia. Greg is an entrepreneur, business owner of Studio1Design.com, a website company. He's got history in the clothing sector, which I'm curious of, that we share some connectivity there and experience. Greg, welcome to today's show. I am super excited about this, mate. You have upped the bar in terms of a guest on when it comes to pre-recording on what you've provided, and so I'm really looking forward to this, mate. You've upped my game before we've even hit the record button. So welcome and thank you straight off the bat. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me, James. I'm doing great, mate. Yeah, it is sunny here in Melbourne. It's at the moment, like, we're experiencing temperatures around 40 degrees Celsius. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, look, the listener can be the judge of how good I am as a guest. But you prepped me well. You said we're going to need this and this and this. So yeah, hats off to you.
I like that, man. And our theme for this month is how to survive in 2021 and exploring opportunities in an uncertain world, covering areas like planning, strategy, chaos, stress, and loss of revenue. And when it comes to loss of revenue, we've connected a few times now, and last year, in a very challenging year for many, you experienced a real growth in your business. So in the website world, where many are looking at automating their website, the website side of their businesses, and so I'm really eager to drill down on that, because how you capitalize that area of growth. But before we get into that, I'm going to ask the initial question, which I've been asking our guests recently, and I'd like to know, what's your proudest moments, personally and professionally, and you can answer them in either order, and of course with a little explanation why. And I haven't prepped you for this, so this is off the cuff. So proudest moments professionally and personally, and a bit of insight into that.
Okay, well, professionally, I think it's been in business for so long, which we can talk about how that happened. But being in business, I started in the year where are we? 2000. Yeah. So we're talking 20 years, 21 years almost. So yeah, that's what I'm quite proud of. But yeah, I think, personally, like, it's probably been married for about that long too. To me, being married, if you can last that distance, because a lot of marriages fail these days, and my marriage is awesome. And we've got a daughter that's just, living life to the max as well. And I believe a strong marriage is a good trait in a person. So that's what I'm most proud of.
I love that. And that's clearly, both of those examples are all about longevity, right? It's the long game, rather than kind of those one moment examples in your life. I love that, man. And how have you continued developing and clearly being successful in your business journey?
Yeah. So here's the thing, like, to me, a business can only survive for a long time, if they're willing to pivot, right? And I had to pivot because, like you alluded to before, I did have a t-shirt, sort of design business where we wholesale designs. We provided designs to wholesalers. And then I reckon probably 2012, 2013, the whole market shifted, the whole rag trade shifted, and our clients started going vertical, and it happened all over the world. And so, their clients, which were essentially the retailers, started getting their own Chinese factories and their own suppliers and all that, and cutting out the middleman, which was the wholesaler, which were our clients. So I had no choice but to pivot if I was going to survive. And at that point, I was pretty unemployable, like working for yourself for 12 years. It makes it tough to go back and get a job, right? Can't say that word, but no. And so I look, at that point, I took some steps to survive, and I started looking online for opportunities. And it's kind of what a lot of people need to do these days, right? If they've got a brick and mortar type business. And so then, what I looked for was other t-shirt businesses that were doing well online, selling designs, and there wasn't really many out there doing it. And so I decided to put a website up. It took a few months to get our first sale. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And so then I just started, playing around with offers and little things like that. And I discovered podcasts, podcasts like this. And honestly, podcasts pretty much saved my business. So I was listening to this podcast called Think Act Get. The two co-hosts, James Schramko and Ezra Firestone, both business coaches, marketers, that sort of thing. And with all the free tips that they gave me, I just injected that into my website until it started working. And like I said, 3 months to get the first sale. And so then what I did with those podcasts is I heard on one of their episodes, they said, we don't really love our logo. So we're thinking of getting a new logo. I thought, oh, there's an opportunity. So design them a free logo. And I sent it to them, and they hated it. They absolutely hated it, right? And so I thought, well, I'm not giving up. I can't give up. So I designed them another logo. But this time I thought, well, I'm going to use my t-shirt design background as influence. And I listened to their personalities. Ezra, he's like from New York. He's got a really cool accent, grew up in Hawaii. And so I did this really cool logo. And then Ezra got that one, and he replied straight away, and he wrote, hot dang, this makes us look like a fancy softball team, real cool New York accent. But and so from there, I just started, and then I built that relationship with them. And from there, I started designing their websites. And then because they had a podcast and their own communities, started design, they referred us to their clients. We started designing for all them. And then, then I hired James Schramko as my business coach. He's still my business coach today. We're talking 7-8 years now. Because he's just amazing. At the time, he had a team of people, based in different countries, 70 people at the time. So I thought, I want to learn from this guy. And the first thing he said to me, well, that worked for me, sending me that free logo. Why don't you send it to other podcasters? And so what I did, went through all their websites and looked, through their testimonials and things like that, and just looked for little catchphrases, because nobody wants to wear just a logo slapped on a shirt, like a brand logo. So I started looking at, catchphrases like lead pages. Somebody wrote in the testimonials, you're my secret weapon. So I did a t-shirt, big secret weapon in a cool font and all that, with a little lead pages logo on it, and send that to Clay Collins, and just repeated that and did it for about 20. And then our name just spread. So started building, relationships with those podcasters and community owners, did joint webinars with them, things like that. Before you knew it, like it took a couple of years, but we had pivoted from being just a t-shirt designer to a marketing focused website design firm. Yeah.
Wow. And I was going to ask what kind of year that was, but you alluded to the 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So would I be right? And that's 2012-13 era that transition happened. And you say it was over 2 years. And did you have the luxury?
Hang on, no, sorry. Initially, like that was just trying to go from t-shirts, to getting started and getting known for websites. We still hung on to the t-shirt business though, and we've still got it today, actually.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, and that's been a different change. So you've got both working side by side there.
Yeah. But my wife, who's a fashion designer, she runs the t-shirt business now. Yeah, so.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, that's really cool. And so that kind of that transition when that all came about was that 2012-13 that period happened?
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. So I didn't realize the podcasting was so the podcasting world, which I can certainly speak for myself and business partner in our team. We've been on a huge journey this past year in the podcasting world and picking up clients and learning everything from software to tech to marketing and taking on clients now that we're brand building. And I didn't realize with yourself that's been so important to you and your business, and almost unplanned as well. And incredible. Have you got your own podcast, or because I know you're a seasoned pro at being a guest on podcasts. channels and really understand the value of networking and also marketing for your own company when it comes to podcasting?
I did have my own podcast. I set it up with another design business. It's called The Real Magic. Now, we had that, I think, from 2015 to 2017, somewhere around there. And what we did, we talked about design related topics, but we found, because we had two very different businesses, I had a website design business, he had a packaging design business. We were talking to two different audiences, right? And
Right.
when you're doing that, it's really hard to have succinct content that everybody engages with on a weekly. We release content every week, but we just found it. We had two different audiences, and we weren't getting the engagement that we wanted, and the numbers weren't going up to the levels that we wanted. It was good content, but because it was so split, we just thought, well, we're going to do our own marketing on separate channels. So we just split it. We're still friends, of course. But yeah, we just stopped that podcast at that point. And I found I get doing a lot of podcast interviews, that actually helps because I'm leading with value and educating. And it's usually to an audience that they want to hear what I've got to say. So that's usually better for business, for driving new leads into my business,
Love that, and I'm going to go straight in because I'm super eager to understand how you grew in the website world. Was it by 25%? If I'm correct,
Last year, yes.
Last year, so 25% growth in a year of challenges for many. How did you achieve that? Certainly in the website world, where it seems everybody's going to more automated, off-the-shelf websites that are cheaper. They seem more quicker to implement, and people seem that they're more in control of their own destiny when it comes to websites. So how on earth did you grow in one of the most challenging, if not the most challenging years that we've known?
Yeah, well, for a start, when the pandemic first hit, we're talking back in March last year for us in Australia anyway. I absolutely, crap myself. It's like, what the hell is going to happen, And then I had about a week, I think it was, where sales just completely dropped off as well. And it's like, whoa, okay, this is serious, the whole world's absolutely screwed here. So it took about, I think, a week after that, I decided I'm just going to reach out to some clients. And I just put up a little page to offer a free call to see if we could strategize, that sort of thing, to see how I could help them, how they could help me, type of thing, and see if we could provide a solution to help them in whatever way is needed, And that was, probably, I don't know, it was probably late March or I don't know, mid-March, something like that. And then so we started getting those calls booked. And then all of a sudden over the next 2 months, we got a lot of those calls booked, but also just people in general just started reaching out to us. And we found it was old clients. It was clients that either had an offline business and wanted to get online because their income was drying up, or it was online businesses that all of a sudden have just, like, we're talking memberships and things like that, people having courses and that sort of thing. They were getting inundated with more business, so they wanted to reinvest into their website to take it up to the next level. So within, I think maybe 3 to 4 months, we had so much work that we didn't know what to do with it. So we had to just keep putting more people on. We've got 25 people now, but we had 20 people, 18, I think it was at the start of 2020. So we put on, 5 to 7 odd people since, just to cope with the extra workload. And look, we didn't do anything different. It's just one of those things, I feel like, and it's not just my business. It's not just because we're good, but it's any type of online business offering, online marketing or websites across the board. All of the people that I know in that industry have all got a nice boost as well. However, I will say this, that it's not for it hasn't happened to absolutely every business. It comes down to positioning, right? So we have done, like I said, all that backstory into helping position us as, a marketing focused website firm that gets conversions, right? And we've designed for some pretty big names in the industry, in the marketing online space. And so we were positioned a cut above those templates that you were talking about earlier. So yes, those template things, a lot of people that have never been online, they will go to those template websites. And I think that's gold, because realistically, you should start there until your offer is converting. But if your offer is not converting, you want to test it first. So go to any template website builder, click funnels, lead pages, what are those other marketplaces or websites? I don't know what they call.
Well, it's interesting because it's like how when we connected, you had a very clear understanding on who your customer is, and equally as important, who your customer isn't. And if you can give us some insight into that. And then I'm also curious on some examples of the customers that started coming to you, because our question was, were you seeing some trends in terms of industries, or was it a really wide range of sectors that you then were working with?
Yeah, it's mainly like to get real, like at the start it was everyone, right? But then we started realizing what we enjoyed doing, what we were getting good results for, and then what we started attracting more of. And it's really businesses in any niche that are using online marketing funnels to grow their business, and they invest in advertising and things like that. So you could still be an offline business, but if you're not using online marketing at all, then they're probably not a good fit for us,
Right.
But yeah, and if they're starting out, they're not usually a good fit for us either, because we find we have to do too much of the educating. We just like a business that's already doing well. They might be, I don't know, maybe doing $1 million a year up to 3 million. If they're any more than that, they've usually got an in-house designer or design team. So, they're not a good fit for us either. But if you've got a really good offer and a good business, I love going to a business's website where it's, they're kicking ass. They've got maybe, they might have a membership, for instance. There's one in particular called McGillMusic.com, if you want to check that out. He's based in the UK. He had a really good membership. He had I think 20 million views or something on YouTube. It might not have been that much, but it was somewhere around 10 or 20. And he just had a really crappy membership, WordPress website that he designed himself. And I thought, wow, this guy's a super authority. He's got all this following, all this social proof, but his website sucks, So and to me, that's the perfect fit. So then we redesigned his website into, what looks amazing. And he invested in copywriting and design and new photography and all that sort of stuff. Now it's absolutely flying. But so to me, that's a perfect kind of business. Somebody's doing well, but there's an opportunity to really take it to the next level.
It's interesting. We've learned a lot over the past, since the pandemic hit, 12 months plus, and identifying who our customer is and who they aren't. And the amount of time I've invested in speaking with people, converting them and trying to make them realize how important the podcasting world is to their businesses and their marketing channels and platforms. And the amount of time and effort it's taken to get someone to record 1, 2, or 3 podcasts, it's an uphill struggle. And then once you've got them there, they're kind of like, yeah, I enjoyed it, but I'm going to continue. And as we were, and it was good. It was good experience. Whereas, we've identified now, if somebody isn't creating even video content or having a go, or someone who's made that decision to create a podcast, but we can identify that they're missing so many opportunities in that, to market and reach a greater audience. So I love what you've said there, and something you said there, which many people, many of our listeners and viewers might pick up on, is what a luxury it is for you to be working with people that you enjoy working with. I mean, there are millions around the world who are struggling with their business, loss of business, unsure what tomorrow looks like, let alone the strategy for the year ahead. What a pleasure it is. And I mean, when you start on your entrepreneurial journey, right, you're like, you don't have a clue. You hear about these people that enjoy their work and get to spend time doing what they love. yeah, what an absolute privilege it is. And when and your face lit up with that is, what do you really enjoy when you're working with somebody you say you enjoy working with, and what you and your team are good at? What does that look like? And is that an equal relationship where somebody's super hungry and trusting in you? What does that look like with your
Yeah.
clients?
Well, I might just add, I'm not a salesperson at all. Had no,
Hmm.
sales training. And to me, it's about building the relationship. And I love connecting with these authorities out there. It's like just little old, they come to little old me, right? And it's like, wow. So I get excited just from that. And then I know we've got a good service and a good, service and a good process, and we get them good results with what we do. So it just brings confidence to me. And I guess we've got a pretty good process as well that kind of weeds out the tire kickers, right? Because
Hmm.
we only want to deal with people that are at a certain type of level, like we've just explained,
Mm.
and that are using online marketing. Because I know we can help them. And so when we go through our process, I send them, a quote, like just a ballpark range. And then, the way we would work at our process, and then a questionnaire. This questionnaire has got 40 questions. It's not easy to answer. And then if they do all that, they can book a call with me, right? So I know that if they go through all that effort and they know how much we charge, and they jump on a call, all we do on that call is just we run through what they've answered, and we strategize together to tell them exactly how, like a blueprint, essentially, how we're going to design their web, redesign it to take it to the next level. And just that call alone, because it's all focused on them, it's not on me at all. That by the end of that, that's when they're like, wow, I'm really, I feel like I'm in safe hands. And we build a friendship, we have laughs, and we just, it's just exciting. It feels good. And that's the way I like doing business, with people that I like.
I spoke. I had a conversation with my good mate and business partner Phil yesterday, and unfortunately he's unable to join us today. And I know he really wanted to, but he said he'd connected with you a while ago. He'd inquired about his business website, and he said what really stood out was he received a 5-minute video from yourself, and you were screen sharing. You were looking over the website, and you were saying, I'll just screen share with you and I'll look through and feedback as I go. And that really stood out for him and made a huge impact. He'd never had that level of that kind of personal touch before. And he said, yeah, it wasn't the right time for him with that idea and that business at the time, but he came back to you with a landing page for another
Yes.
business. And it was interesting. When we had that discussion yesterday, was, under standard practice, what would happen is if he inquired, business owner might then go to the team, put
Yep.
that on the desk with creative heads. 4 or 5 people might look at that, really run through it, devise like a thorough plan and feedback. And you look at the time that's taken and the man hours in with
Mm.
that, and then it's fed back over a PDF that's attached in an email, which
Yep.
is kind of standard historical business practice, right? But
Yep.
you look at your 5-minute impactful approach and video compared to what 3, 4, 5 hours worth of work in a
Yeah.
but it's incredible, isn't it? And the impact and the
Yeah.
difference of both. And that's really important. I just wanted to kind of feed that back to you, because that
Yeah.
really hit home. And do you find, Greg, that when we're looking at looking at the personal touch, and more so now than ever, people
Mm.
you want to feel connection with people, with a business,
Yes.
with their work. Do you is that something that you're really driven to do? Because we always
Yeah.
hear that loyalty is lacking in business, and that's been kind of a something that's forgotten over the past number of years.
Yeah.
How important is that to you as a person, and within your business?
Extremely important. Yeah. So, for instance, like, I mean, I touched on a couple of things, but that video idea, doing the video, where I'm sharing my screen, I put a video of me on there as well, talking through it. Video is so powerful for building
Mhm.
trust, because they can see your body language and the way you talk and things like that. So I think that's super important. And then also, yeah, when I jump on calls with clients, I also do what we're doing now, a Zoom video call. And I think, even though we're on the opposite side of the world, we can see each other, and it just helps build that relationship. So I think that's important. I also want to mention that, like you touched on before, that your business partner, I sent that video video to him later, and then he remembered that. And so to me, like it's a long game, like business is a long game. So you just want to build those relationships, even if it is just dropping a little bit of a value bomb here. People remember that. If it's got that personal touch, it's just so much more powerful than sending a PDF. So yeah, look, that's why I do it. Did that answer the question?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, absolutely. More than thrilled. Well, you recently wrote a blog which is titled perfectly for our theme in February, and it's how your small business can thrive in a changing world. And something I've really wanted to January, we love healthy habits and those that focus and motivation. And coming into February, it's just like, right, so a lot of people are planning in January under normal circumstances, even more so importantly now in 2021 with the pandemic continuing. We look at your blog, but really, how do you plan and strategize for the year ahead? We've spoken with a number of people now, and it seems that their short and medium kind of term goals for the year have come just that little bit closer than they normally would in terms of their timelines and timeframes. How can people plan for the year ahead in 2021, Greg? Is that how possible is that? Because some people are just waiting and saying, well, there's no point. We don't know what's going to happen, and they're waiting to be told what they can and can't do. Whereas, like yourself and pretty much all entrepreneurs we've spoken to, it's all about attacking the day and looking for those opportunities. So how have you first of all, let's delve into your planning ahead and strategy and also some advice to others.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, for me, I just like to look at my bigger picture goals for the year, right? And in a pandemic, like last year, my goal was just try and hold on and maintain the current level we were at. That was my goal. I didn't want to grow. I just wanted to maintain it. So, and this year I do want to grow a little bit, but not much, because I like steady growth, and business is a long game. And I actually think I've got a pretty good balance on life and business at the moment. Apart from the fact that we're in lockdown, usually we like to travel a couple of times a year and things like that. But what I normally do is just do an annual goal of where you want to hit, and then I'll just break it down into quarterly. Like for me, the next 3 months is all about what I'm trying to do this year is just boost my authority, right? So to do that, I break it down to 3 months. And so what I've been working on for the last 2 years is a book, right? Which is all based on, website design. And I've got 20 case studies in there and things like that. But so what I'm going to do, it's almost ready. And so my plan for the next 3 months is to get that book out there, right? And it's about a 6-week project just to design it, because it's going to be a really nice coffee table, beautifully designed, cool, street-worthy book.
Of course, I wouldn't expect anything less, mate. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so what I'm doing is just, working through that first. I've got a ghostwriter that's been helping me. And so we're just finalizing that. We're having the design finalized, and then it'll be promoting it. So that's really it for the first 3 months, And so based on that, I'm also knocking back other things. I still need to do client work. Don't get me wrong. My role is literally just to run the business and have calls with clients. So I've got another salesperson helping me with that as well. But that's it. I'm not going to take on any other projects. And, even podcast interviews, I'm trying to keep that to a minimum as well at the moment. And so I can just stay focused, because to me, focus is what's going to get you through. But you have an annual focus, and then a quarterly, and then what are the steps each week? What's one thing you do each week? And coming back to my coach, James Stramko, every week we jump on a call and he says, right, what's the one thing, what's your biggest win for the week? What's your biggest challenge for the week? And what's the one thing you're going to do over the next week? Or it might be a longer, term. But yeah, that just keeps me going. Like every week is just make sure, just do that one thing. And that just makes it easy. Just one thing at a time. I mean, business is just a whole series of steps,
Yeah, and you touched on you mentioned having the balance right at the moment in terms of life and business. And is that normally the case? I mean, to have
I've
that
been
right
working on
now
it.
seems incredible. Yeah, it's always a work in progress, right? And inevitably it kind of tips one way or the other. But that's, again, it just seems for many people it's easy to think to look at someone like yourself, someone in business who's successful and clearly, got a smile on their face despite this, under circumstances and adversity that we
Yep.
find ourselves in. People don't realize all of the kind of the backstory and the hard graft associated with that. And
Yeah.
when you look at the planning ahead, Greg, for this year, and you're speaking with people, and the advice out there is, how much do you see it generally in terms of hard work that's necessary, or that just taking a breather to refocus and strategize? And yeah, it's $1 million question, really, isn't it? But
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
we speak to a lot of people that are struggling out there, and because they're struggling so much, and
Yeah.
uncertainty it's like what steps to take next. And in your blog post, you talk about fear focus groups and unfocused groups and strategy focus groups. And if we can kind of touch on that and how that might benefit people out there looking at what on earth they do right now for the year ahead.
Yeah, well, so this was based on an interview with one of our clients, Kevin Rogers from copychief.com, awesome community of copywriters. And he interviewed Todd Herman, the author of the Alter Ego, I think it is, something like that. And I just watched this. It was in March. So, it was right when the pandemic hit. And I think these strategies might be in his book, but what they talked about on the call is, there's essentially, three groups that people find themselves in, and it's, and it's so relevant for pandemic. But number one is the fear focus group. So it's people that consume a lot of TV and things like that, right? So they consume too much, in my opinion. My number one step, if you're going to fix this problem, would be to turn off the TV, just watch a tiny bit, and so, they're so paranoid because, I don't know, they're just consuming too much, in my opinion. And what they found was they use a lot of negative words like struggle and fear and difficult and things like that. And then there was number two, the unfocused group. So they're kind of in denial about the pandemic, about the situation that they're in, and they're just playing a wait and see game. And, I was kind of like that, I feel like, at the very start. But then, like I said, it was only for a week or so. And then I thought, well, I need to reach out to clients. But and they don't really do anything about it. So, their business is not going to change much. And then there's the strategy focus group. And so really they are people like what I did after I went through that second phase, where, you get really focused on, and, we can go through some steps of ideas that I've got for helping your audience to get focused and what to do. But yeah, they don't consume much media. They just consume enough, so they're aware of what's going on. But then based on that, they look for opportunities to move forward. And, they really want to just stay focused and just think about the action steps they need to do to achieve that next move, essentially. So yeah, really three different, very different groups there. And for me, I think it's not easy to be in group number three, but that's the goal, to just try and stay laser focused. So you got some tips around that if you want to roll into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, if you can give us some tips on that. And it's interesting. I wonder, do you spot some of your clients that have gone through that and then they find
Yes.
themselves in that awesome strategy focused group? Do you see them maybe taking a step back or veering back to being unfocused, or and some fear coming in when there's more restrictions from a government point, or there's financial limitations? And so, how do you have you kind of worked with your clients on that when you've got them into that strategy focused kind of arena, and it's trying to keep them in there so you get the best out of them and they get the best out of you?
Yeah. Well, look, I might just say I'm not a business coach, right? But I do hang out with a lot of business coaches, and a lot of our clients are coaches. And so all I tried to do with my clients, I do notice they might think of ideas, but then they might get complacent and just go back into that group number two. But what I like to do was just have a call with them to find out where they're at, and then just brainstorm with them to figure out, what it is, what are their problems and things like that. But I think it's also good just to remind people like why they're in business, and, they do have an awesome product or service, and then just think about, okay, how can we offer that in a different way. So it might be a matter of, these are the steps that I recommend. Like, first of all, brainstorm with your customers, brainstorm with your team if you've got a team, and then just sort of list out a whole bunch of avenues that you could go. But yeah, try and think about, like, are there online opportunities that you're not currently doing? Like, for instance, I got a few clients, like my accountant, for instance, he started just offering group sessions where he would do online, videos talking about the way the government's handling the pandemic and what it means to their businesses and things like that. And then there was a Pilates instructor that had just had an offline business, like an actual physical studio, Pilates studio. And then she came to us, we had a strategy call, and then I said, right, okay, why don't you just do some Zoom calls, talk to your customers, find out what they want. And they wanted to stay healthy and do Pilates still. So she started doing like Zoom call, like small group calls. And then from that, she recorded all of those Zoom group calls and put them into a membership. So now she's got an online membership. So, it's just, strategizing is number one. But yeah, I think talking to your clients, your prospects, and your team, I think is definitely going to help. Think about online more. And then another thing you might want to think about is, like, if you've got a really good offer, like, double down on that. Like, you might have some offers that don't convert as well, and they might have dropped off, significantly in the pandemic. So, maybe trim the fat, get rid of all that stuff, and just double down on what's working. And then also think about, right, you've got this offer, may not be working in this niche, this target market. Is there another target market that you could potentially just create a sales page for, and either drive some traffic there, whether it's paid or through your podcast or blog or whatever, or B, to your existing list, and just see what happens there. So I think, those things alone would definitely help, but you could also do some other things like, review the messaging on your website and your landing pages in general, because you've got to think about what's going through people's mind at that time when they're on your site, right? And if the pandemic's just hit or whatever, they're going to be thinking, okay, well, is this relevant to the current situation? So you might just tweak your headline to relate to the fact that, okay, I've got a solution for you, even though we're in this pandemic. But you don't want to talk about the actual pandemic, but you just want to tweak the wording to make sure it sort of relates to what's going on in their mind right now. So yeah, and like I said before, like, what was I going to say? The having calls with your clients is number one. There's no doubt about that. But if you can just try and brainstorm and talk to others, I really feel like there's a solution out there. You've just got to find it. You've just got to really dive deep.
I love that. And what when it comes to brainstorming with clients, I know people out there will be thinking, well, doesn't that show some sort of weakness? Because surely we should be brainstorming as a team and providing answers and clear vision to our clients. Whereas actually, and that might have been more historical in business, but it's now is like open up and engage and fact find and see where people are at and how your clients tick, right? And how beneficial have you found that process, Greg, in terms of brainstorming?
That to me was what got us, back on track from having that quiet week or so, was just reaching out and doing those calls and coming, like, approaching it in the way of, like, how can we help you? And then they're thinking, how can we help you? Like, it's like, how can we help each other attitude, not what can I take? So I think that's the attitude you need to take when you do those calls. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, we spoke about focus there, and I'm going to move on to you spoke about pivoting and adapting, and you've got some great examples here on how bigger businesses have adapted to survive recently. Do you want to run through some of those examples, and also maybe some examples from your clients that have worked in the same way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, well, this is just me doing a bit of research. So I don't know these off the back of my hand, but I do know there was three in particular that I could point out. One is Nintendo, right? So Nintendo actually started their business several centuries ago, right? And they produced everything from playing cards, vacuum cleaners, instant rice, a taxi company, even a short stay hotel chain. And it wasn't until 1966 that they started producing producing electronic games and consoles. So that's a big pivot. And then there's Suzuki. So from 1910 to 1935, the creator Michio Suzuki, I think that's how you pronounce it, made weave-in loom machines, right, powered by Japan's silk industry. Then in 1955, they started making vehicles, and more recently, high-performance motorbikes. Now, and then there's one more, and then we'll sort of talk about why they had to do what they did. Starbucks. So they started off selling like espresso makers and coffee beans, and then in 1971, they started, pivoting to their takeaway coffee franchise essentially. And so the point is, like, these businesses, one, you have to pivot. If you're going to stay in business for a long time, you just have to pivot. It's just the way it is, right? If you don't pivot, you guarantee you're going to fail. So really, they've pivoted, and the reason they've pivoted might have been because of a pandemic, but it may have been because the market shifted. It might have been that technology advanced, things like that. So there's going to be a bunch of reasons, not just a pandemic, that you have to be prepared to pivot. And those guys are just three classic examples of some extreme pivoting.
I love that, and you in the we've already covered, because you talk about action steps that you took to survive and thrive, and you covered about looking for online opportunities and how you designed a website to offer your t-shirts to Design World, and then 3 months to get your first sale, and then you discussed and covered into the podcasting world. So look, let's talk about action steps to survive and even thrive. And you've got, like, there's so much we could cover here. But I mean, what would be the kind of the three that stands out, that come to your mind first and foremost, that you can provide in value? What's the three steps that you could advise people to take straight off the bat? That the easy access, the ones if they're just struggling to know what on earth to do right now under these uncertain times.
Look, honestly, I think it's like somehow just get in contact with other people. I can't stress that enough. Like, to me, I mean, I'm probably repeating myself here. I can't think of other things other than how important it is to one, think of your goals, where you want to head, but then two, think about how you're going to get there and how to, what that's going to look like. Because you can guarantee if your business is struggling, I mean, really, people do sort of fall into three categories if they're, if their business is going down, you know what I mean? So, and realistically, it's like, number one, your business is just absolutely, terrible. You're in SOS and you need to pivot and pivot fast. I mean, and number two could be like, it's time to level up your marketing, like getting ready for the bounce back, because there's going to be a big bounce back soon, right? With all these vaccines coming out, and there will be a time. So what can you do to sort of stay above your competitors? And then, number three, like there's some businesses out there, especially in the tech and like even my industry, I feel very grateful for having that boost. And I do feel for people that are suffering right now. I really do. But, like there's just so much opportunity. Like, could you completely pivot your business to a different offer altogether, that sort of capitalizes on what's going on? And, look at the tech boom at the moment. It's just crazy, and anything that's in disruptive industries that's using technology as the base is just like accelerated. So what can you do around those three things to brainstorm ideas that's best going to suit your business? But you have to think about it outside of the norm. It's like,
Right.
really make yourself uncomfortable and start brainstorming, like I said, but really start thinking like you've never thought before.
And I'd love to know if you'd be willing to share with us an example or two from a client where you've started either working with them again, or they're a brand new client and they're from a certain sector and industry, and you've worked with them and they sell a certain product or service, and you've then discovered the opportunities out there for them, and they've either bolted on a completely new and different service, or completely switched where the opportunities risen.
Yeah, totally. So it's a classic one. I've got a concreting client, right? So just designed a website for his concreting business a few years ago. But he's got really good knowledge. Like, he's a bit of a leader in the concreting game. So he's completely pivoted to offering online coaching to other concreting businesses.
Love
right?
it.
So, yeah.
Absolutely love it. That's
So that's
awesome.
pretty extreme, isn't it? Going from a concreter to a business coach.
Yeah, and I would love to be a fly on the wall with those early conversations. Was it the client like kind of speaking with you about those ideas, or was it
No,
more?
he already knew. He had, like, he already wanted to do that, but this just accelerated it, and that's what I mean. The pandemic's accelerated a lot of opportunity if, because you think about other concreting businesses. Well, they need to now figure out, right, how can they stay on top of this as well. So he's contacted all people in his industry, and then he's worked out a solution. He's helping them, and you know what I mean. It's just a win-win attitude. But yeah, it's really thinking differently.
I love that, and that does remind me of yeah, because you emailed through that you work with Dean Booty, who's a friend of ours, a
Yes.
very good close friend of Phil's, and I was at school with Dean, and he's
Yeah.
got
What
us.
a coincidence.
Yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
small world, and we are
Yeah.
literally at the other side of the world, and then we're
Yeah.
connected by friend got storage, and then he created a self-storage podcast, which was literally that.
Yes.
Was it the only self-storage? Certainly, it's the best one out there. And then off the back
Yeah.
of having a self-storage podcast, he then gets invited to a national award ceremony and talks, and the rest is history. And the he's a really good example of and we've been discussing as a team is, do you want an
Yep.
audience of 1,000? So is it a numbers game? Do you want an audience of 1,000 so you can say you've got 1,000 downloads or listeners, or do you want an audience of 100 who are super engaging? And
Yeah.
he's certainly one that advocates that. He's got a smaller audience, but he's super niched, and
Yes.
they're fully engaging with what he does and how he does it. So yeah, that when you speak about your concrete client, your concrete guy,
Yeah.
that reminded me of
Dean
Dean
Booty.
there. Love,
He's
yeah,
a
love that.
legend.
Well, I mean, we before we press the record button, I was talking about, like, let's be about being specific in the website world, and it's pretty clear that that's just. It almost seems that you're digital marketer. You've got so much influence, experience, and knowledge that you're working with your clients. And I know we kind of set up a structure exploring like clarity, influence, and
Yep.
strategy, and we've got a lot that we could cover. Greg, there's an awful
We
lot that we
do.
could cover here, but I definitely want to cover and run through the clarity, influence, and strategy, and I'll certainly
Cool.
hand that over in terms of what you want to kind of cover and discuss under each one of those topics, because there's so much value within each of those that I certainly want to cover all three. So yeah, let's talk about clarity, and we've spoken on we've touched on these so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's start with clarity and the importance of that.
Totally, yeah. And so for me, if you wanted to do a full episode, I'm happy to do that. But yeah, just briefly, this is
Hmm.
sort of the top 10 things that you must have on your website to take it to the next level, right? So clarity is number one. And like I said before, it's all about getting into the minds of your ideal client, and then making sure when they come to your website, they've only got a few seconds to figure out A, what you do, B, what's in it for them, and C, why they should choose you, right? So that clarity piece, the wording it's the wording and the imagery, right? We want to remove all distractions, and we want to just make sure everything is completely relevant to that audience. So when they land on your site, within a few seconds, they're going to know how what you do and how they're going to benefit. So yeah, there's a lot more we could go into, but that's really clarity. And really on that clarity piece as well, you want to make sure that you position your business as the guide and your prospects as the hero, right? So realistically, what we find a lot of websites do is they write the words on the website themselves, and they write something like, welcome to our website, we do this, we do that, and it's just the wrong approach. It's like, instead you want to just tell them how they're going to benefit, the big benefit statement at the top, and then tell them how you actually do that, and then back it up with social proof and whatever else you can, to boost your authority essentially. But
The
yeah, so
age
that's
the age old saying, you only get one chance to make a first impression, right? And I guess
that's
that's the
right.
that's the ultimate when they hit your website.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, so that's the clarity piece. And then influence, it's really, and what we touched on then, I might say, because I said 10 things before. In clarity, there's, do you clearly explain
Hmm.
what problem your offer solves, right? And who it's for. Two is, do you clearly explain how people benefit from your offer? And three, do you position yourself as the guide and not the hero, right? And by the way, is a thing you can do, just read how many times you say me, we, or our on your website versus I, versus you or yours, etc. And if your percentage is leaning more towards we, me, etc., then you've got a problem with positioning yourself as the hero, not the guide. Yeah. And then influence. Yeah. So really for influence, there's three things. So what we're talking about here is making sure that you're seen as the expert, and you don't want to just tell people I am the best, right? You got to back it up, because people don't care what you say.
So we're looking at testimonials, right? The power of
Yeah.
testimonials. Would I be right in thinking that's
exactly? And you can't have enough social proof, and that could come in the form of, if you're an e-commerce site, it could be a reviews plugin. They're quite believable. And if you've got a reviews plugin on your site and you get some negative reviews, leave them on. If it's just gold. You're more believable that way. But yeah, as much social proof. But yeah, case studies, videos, written testimonials, logos of clients, all that sort of stuff is going to help boost your your influence if you can have more social proof. And then authority, right? So you want to, the question is, do you display your authority on your website? And by that, it could be any type of metrics, like it might, like that, the guy McGill Music, you had 10 or so, whatever it is, million views. You want to put that sort of thing on there. Have had this much view, or whatever it is, been in business for 20 years, or whatever the case is, right? Or it could even be, it might be photos of you on stage, or it might be you and your fleet of vehicles, or you and your team on the tools, whatever it is. You want to show yourself looking as professional as possible. And just on that as well, like if you invest in good photography, that's also going to help with that authority piece. Yeah. And then number 6, are you being consistent? And so what we're talking about there is, it might be releasing content consistently, like a weekly podcast or a blog post or whatever, sending emails and keeping your email list warm. And then a consistent look and feel across all of your touch points, from social media to websites to offline marketing. Just make sure it's all congruent and consistent. And so then you start becoming more memorable. And so, yeah, those 3 things there will help influence people, right? And then strategy as well. So we've got here in the strategy piece 3 things. So number 1 is, are you leading with value? And that's all about having some sort of free offer. It's simple as that. You don't want to get people on your homepage and say, here, buy my stuff, because if they don't know you from a bar of soap, they're not going to buy anything. You need to build trust with them first. So there's a whole bunch of things you can do with funnels, but the number 1 rule is just to lead with value. And it might be free content like a blog or a podcast, and then offer them something else like a free PDF or a checklist, or a free video series or a free trial, things like that. But try and just lead with valuable content first. And then another question, do you have strategy, like a strategy for warming up that cold traffic? And once again, it could be just a little, let's say they've downloaded a free ebook or whatever. On the thank you page, most website designers will just write, thanks for downloading the ebook. Instead, that's a wasted opportunity. You want to have a video there that sort of explains, maybe face to camera if you're up for that. I know a lot of people are scared to go on video, but if you can, it's going to help build trust. And so you say, hey, thanks for downloading the free thing. And then talk about whatever your paid offer is and the benefits of that. And then invite them into the next step of your funnel. And that might be to jump on a free strategy call or something like that. It could be a bunch of things, but you really want straight away to start warming up those cold leads as quickly as possible. But then it might be a long game. Some businesses, it takes two years to go from a cold lead to a hot lead. So it might just be drip feeding an email nurture campaign, that sort of thing. Yeah. And then, do you, like for strategy, do you provide a clear pathway? We're talking, people don't even have a call to action button on their website or on the homepage. They just expect people to know what to do, right? So make it really clear and obvious. And this button really should be contrast to everything else on the webpage, so it really draws attention. And then in that button, like, what is the action that you want them to take? So some people just, they write words that aren't really in action. It's got to be in action. All right. So download this, or, things like that, or book a call, or blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so having just that clear pathway on how you can help them is really crucially important. A lot of people miss that one. And then finally, to me, like, if you've got a lot of competitors in your niche, then if you have all these pieces in place, you've got a strategy, you've got good copywriting, all that sort of stuff is out there, good influence. But if your design sucks and your competitor's design looks amazing, then, you know, if your target market is shopping around, they're probably going to go to your competitor. So if you can invest in design after you got all those pieces in place, then you are going to take your results to the next level. So you're positioned as that super authority out there in your niche. Yeah. So to me, it's all those things: clarity plus influence plus strategy plus a pro level design equals, you know, a great boost in conversions.
Love
That's what
that.
happens
And
with our clients.
yeah, love that. And just to touch on the design side, I
Yeah.
bet, and from a design fan, an expert
Yeah.
yourself, how frustrating is that when everything else? Yeah, I imagine they've got it all right, and then when it
Yeah.
comes to the final hurdle, and it just falls down visually. Um,
Yeah.
I imagine, as frustrating as that might be, it almost kind of must excite you as well to grab hold of that
Yes.
and just think we can really make an impact in the design side of things. Is
Yeah.
that something that you just really enjoy when you spot
Yeah,
that?
definitely. Yeah, I find the two biggest things are design and copy. Like people just don't value copywriting. Copywriting is more important than design, right? There's no doubt about it. But yeah, if you get all those pieces and good copywriting and good design, like that'll give you the ultimate outcome. But yeah, I do, you know, I see it as an opportunity. If they've got all those pieces, yeah, because we work with copywriting partners as well that we introduce our clients to. But yeah, I just know those two pieces, especially copywriting plus the design, is going to just really boost the results like nothing else. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, before we wrap up, where I want to steer people your way, where can people find you, Greg?
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. So, I mean, look, if you've got any questions, just email me, Greg, Greg, at studio1design.com, or just go to studio1design.com, and that's the numeral one. Yeah.
Awesome. And I've got a final question I'd love to ask you, and then just a final thank you wrap up.
Yeah.
I'd love to know who your hero is and why.
My hero. Okay. Well, it's
Yes.
actually my business coach because he surfs like twice a day. He works 25 hours a week and he's got a multi 7-figure business. Like,
Wow.
why wouldn't you? Yeah. So that's, you know, that's what I'm aiming for. Not to
Uh,
surf, but
and
also.
is that James Schranko? Is that
Yes. James
yes?
Schramko. Yeah.
So that's James
I'll,
Schranko,
um,
right?
I'll introduce you to him. I'm sure he'd like to be a guest.
Yeah, that would be awesome, and I'm already a fan. I just like I'm as soon as we stop recording, I'm delving in and just like finding out more about him. That's
Cool.
awesome. Well, yeah, huge thank you. I mentioned that you have set yourself aside from, you know, we're 70 plus episodes in now, and I've discussed on the podcast over time on how certain people have elevated our game in a number of ways, and you certainly did that with myself in terms of pre-prep and just your structure and focus and professionalism. So I'd like to certainly thank you for that. And you touched on that you're limiting the podcasts that you're guesting on. So again, thank you. That it's a real privilege to have you on when you've held back and cut those down. And I do know before we started recording, I know it's your wife's birthday today. So even more, like, mate, I'm super privileged right now, sat here. I mean, my mind is going like 10 to the dozen on ideas for business and strategy. And so I thank you
Awesome.
for that. I'm just pleased that we didn't do this at like 10 o'clock at night, because I wouldn't be sleeping right now. So
All good.
so
I have
many
to
thank
point out,
yous. Yeah,
she's
yeah.
having a massage right now, just for the listeners. So I'm not, you know, encroaching on her time.
Well,
Yeah.
so many thank yous, mate, and enjoy the rest of your day. And no doubt you're going to be treating your wife, and that's going to be a really lovely evening ahead for you. It goes without saying, I want to be connecting with you as much as possible. You certainly inspired me from the brief time that we've connected so far, but I certainly want that to continue. And I know
Thank you.
Phil is dying to chat with you and get stuck in with strategy and business and whatnot. And we've already discussed a number of opportunities that for us to work together. So, mate, one of
you.
my favorite podcasts that I've had in 70 plus episodes. It's just a
Ah,
shame we have to
awesome.
cut it so short. However, I'd love to have you back on. And certainly, we discussed before about laser focusing in the website world, and that could be,
Yeah,
you know,
cool.
that could be a super efficient and focused 20 minutes. But I think I want to certainly, our audience deserves that. And it's great talking about all of this strategy, but laser focusing on websites right now. And I know you've got so much to give in that field. That's your area of expertise. So, mate, 1,000 thank yous. Have a great day. And I look forward to speaking with you soon, Greg.
Thanks so much, James. Take care, buddy. Bye.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Business Lockdown.
Please comment, like, share, and subscribe to help build our global community.
We look forward to seeing you all soon.